overseas. Back with the SportsMax Zone to athletics now, on the story reported overnight by SportsMax.tv. Imagine being banned for 4 years from the sport you love, athletics, which is also your livelihood, your primary source of income, and then you receive an additional 3-year ban. That's the situation facing Grenadian quartermiler Bralon Taplin. The 28-year-old has been sanctioned by the World Athletics and Integrity Unit, the AIU, for 3 more years for a whereabouts violation. The punishment is on top of the 4-year ban he was given in 2019, meaning he'll be out of action at least until 2026. Taplin has a personal best of 44.38 for 400 meters and was 7th in the gold medal race at the 2016 Olympics in Rio. For more on this story, we turn to senior writer at SportsMax.tv, Leighton Levy. Welcome, Leighton.
Hey, George. What's up? Long time.
Excellent. All right. So, just to bring everybody into the loop, all of our viewers watching, I know some know the story. I anticipate some don't. Tell us why Bralon Taplin was banned for 4 years initially, and how he came to get a second helping on that 4-year ban.
All right. So, back in 2017, at the Grenadian Invitational, as you know, there's a standard policy where athletes are randomly drug tested after competition. He literally fled Grenada and was not tested, and despite the efforts of the doping control officers to get him into the doping control center, he left the island early the next morning and without getting tested. He didn't have an adequate reason why he chose to leave the island before he was tested, so he was banned because it counts as an initial drug test failure. Subsequent to that, that was in 2017. So subsequent to that now, this year, well, let me backtrack a little bit. If you are banned, as long as you're not retired, you remain within the registered testing pool, which is where all elite athletes are, and then they're randomly drug tested. If you are in the top 20 in the world, I think it is, you are considered an elite, which, I mean, based on his times, you know, he would have been among the elite athletes. So he missed 3 tests in 2019, April, August, and November. And the third and final test, that was in November, he explained to the Athletics Integrity Unit that he had an emergency. Basically what he was in an accident, and on the morning when he was supposed to be tested, because on his whereabouts information filing on the Adams network, he said that he was available at between 7 a.m. and 8 a.m. each morning. Anyway, he had to go to court, which was established as truth. And so he pretty much went to court, and so the test that turned up didn't find him, and of course, hence the third failed test. So that's the background of what is happening with Bralon Taplin right now. In terms of if you notice the ban, the second ban is only 3 years as opposed to 4, or life, as it usually is in this instance, a second violation, is that the independent tribunal agreed that on the morning when he was supposed to be tested, he had to be in court. Those circumstances have been established as fact. And given the circumstances leading up to that, they understand that he could have been, it would be fair to assume that he would be distracted by those circumstances. However, in the accident that he was involved in on November 20th, he had received documents, the paperwork for him to appear in court on the 25th, indicated that he would have been in court on the 25th and that he would need to be in court by 8 a.m. for an 8:30 hearing. He had 5 days then to adjust his whereabouts information, so he could have then been tested either before that, the 25th, or after the 25th, which would have not then resulted in him being documented as a missed test, which is why the independent tribunal agreed that, okay, we'll take some time off, so you'll get an additional 3 years, so you'll be 35 by the time you come back to the sport in 2026.
Whoa, because I was feeling as if he may have been hard done by, but you're saying that there was enough time to align his court appearance with the scheduled, with his availability for the tester to show up, and you're saying that he actively decided not to adjust his schedule, so that when the tester showed up, he wasn't available, then to say, oh, but I was in court, and they tossed that out, is what you're saying?
Yeah, because while they agree that, yes, because they did establish that he needed to have been in court on that morning. The fact is that he had time. And the second thing, I think, that based on the document, the AIU document that I read through today for the means of speaking to you guys today, was that in the two previous instances, in April and in August, when the DCO showed up and knocked on his door, there was no response. He said on the second time he didn't hear anybody knock on his door. He didn't hear anything that would suggest that anybody was in his yard. But eventually, it was earlier this year that he filed an appeal, saying, trying to explain those two previous missed tests. And but then, by then it will be too late, because first of all, he has missed several deadlines to respond to the AIU, which he didn't at the time when he should have. So now, responding almost a year later to those missed tests pretty much just left him in a very bad place to be able to substantially and with any credibility dispute those claims.
Okay, Leighton, let me just be certain. You said something a while ago I've never heard. I didn't know that. So while he was banned for fleeing the country without being tested, he was banned. They still tested him while he was banned, and he missed tests. I didn't know that you would still be tested and be monitored while you're serving a suspension.
As long as you're not retired, you are considered to be available for testing, because, well, the way I reason it, I'm not sure this is the same argument the AIU would use or WADA would use, is that if you are banned, it doesn't stop you from training. You can always be doping up and come.
But you're not competing. But you're not competing, Leighton.
No. But you don't take drugs in competition. You take performance-enhancing drugs usually out of competition that allows you to recover more quickly from training, so you can train more often and more frequently and train at higher levels of intensity, which then gives you an advantage. There is belief that you take drugs to run fast in competition. That's not all it is. You take performance-enhancing drugs while you're preparing for competition, which allows you to train more often and at a high level of intensity, which gives you a distinct advantage over those athletes who would train, for example, for a 3-hour session and then have to spend 8 hours recovering, which most athletes do. You take some time, you get some sleep, you get some food, you hydrate and then come back to training. When you take performance-enhancing drugs, you come back to training in 2 hours and you're training just as intense as you were in your first training session in the morning.
But I'm saying,
so
if I'm on a
that's why you're testing out of competition. So if you're banned, you remember you're coming back to competition eventually. So in the event that you're coming back to competition eventually, you can still then train out of competition while banned and still have that advantage, because then you're breaking the rules while you're banned.
I understand what you're saying, Leighton. I could understand that if I'm serving a 3-year ban, then in my final year, where I'm preparing to go back into competition, then I'll start juice up again. But if I'm a 3 or 4-year ban, and in the first year, I'm going to be taking juice from now for 4 years or 3 years down the road, that seems a bit nonsensical to me.
Well, it is what it is. I mean, I take the point because it's a point. Actually, I was speaking to a prominent athlete this morning who WhatsApped me and said, how does it make sense? And I said, it doesn't in real terms, but when you think about it in practicality, the testing authorities have to do everything possible to stay ahead of those who are actually doping. And hence, if you're not retired, then you are eligible to be tested.
All right, so how big a blow is this then, Leighton, for Grenada overall? Because I know they were trying to set themselves up with a potent 4x400 meter team with Kirani James, of course, the second fastest Caribbean man all time over 400 meters. Rondell Bartholomew, a former Carifta champion who is fit again after injury. And I think maybe Joel Redhead or someone else who could come in to complete the quartet.
This is a major blow. I mean, in fact, it's funny that you should mention that, Because when Bralon came here in, I think it was early 2017 for the race of the Grand Prix, I'm trying to remember exactly when it was. I had a conversation with him at the Jamaica Pegasus, and he actually raised that very point about the possibility of Grenada putting together an outstanding 4x4 team that could challenge the very best in the world. Now that takes a significant blow, because not only is he out until 2023, which would have given Bartholomew and Kirani, some time still in the sport, because Kirani is still relatively young. Bartholomew would be fresh coming back after so many years of injury. And the youngster, who I think will be about 23, just about now, I think, I could be wrong. But then now with this ban extending to 2026, they are a man short.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I don't know where they'll find another athlete of that quality. But to be fair, Grenada, based on Kirani and Bralon Taplin and Rondell Bartholomew, have seen themselves as a potential threat to all the best 4x400 meter relay teams globally. Now, the 2021 Tokyo Olympics are 266 days away. What are athletes doing now to prepare for the event?
They're training intensely. In fact, I've been monitoring as many of the athletes as I can. As you know, for example, let's start with Trinidad and Tobago. Jerry Richards has changed camps. He's gone over to Clermont, Florida to train with Lance Brahman. He's training well based on what I'm hearing. Veronica Campbell-Brown is trying to make a last for us. Seen some video of her. She looks really sharp in training so far based on the videos that we've seen. We know Shelly and Fraser Price and, of course, Elaine Thompson are putting in the work. So is Brianna Williams. So is Johnny Smith, who is now recovered from her back surgery. Natalia White. The Caribbean athletes are preparing in earnest for the Olympic Games and, of course, looking to do exciting things for the Caribbean come Tokyo 2021, because I think for many of them, like Shelly and Fraser Price, this is a last hurrah for her when it comes to the Olympic Games. She has 4 world titles, 100 meter world titles, a 200 meter world title. She's going for an unprecedented 3rd Olympic gold medal. She already has history on her side with 3 100 meter medals, 2 gold and a bronze medal from 2016. She's going for an unprecedented 3rd gold, and based on the form that she won at the World Championships in Doha last year. She's right now the favorite. She just celebrated her birthday, her 34th birthday. She's going in and could possibly be the oldest woman to win a 100 meter world title as well. So she has a lot of history to accomplish in Tokyo next year. And of course, it's one of the reasons why she's training as intensely as she has. And of course, when you look across the Caribbean, there's so many athletes who are on the verge of breaking through to that very next level. That your own Laverne Spencer, who is in, of course, St. Lucian, doing fantastic things. I'm sure this is also a last hurrah for herself, because she's been around for a long time, doing well. I'm sure she'd like to walk away with an Olympic medal as well.
Yeah. Just before you, final thing from you. Who was Bralon Taplin's lawyer?
I'm not sure, George.
But it wasn't Dr. Crown.
I don't think so. I think he would have mentioned it to me.
There you go. All right. Thank you, Leighton. And gentlemen, I think that's a problem. I think based on the circumstances of the case, I think if Bralon had the kind of counsel who was nimble enough, maybe he would not have gotten all of 3 years on top of the 4. And Dr. Crown knows these things inside out. And I suspect that had he been retained, then we'd be talking about a different story today.
George, the problem with these guys in these huge houses, this mansion, this $6-7 million house. How can somebody knock it at your door for 1 hour? You don't hear?
Really?
Taplin doesn't have a
No, that's what I'm saying. No, he's not one of those.
That's the point I'm making. I'm just being sarcastic.
And many of these guys who say they didn't hear knocks, they live in an apartment, maybe sometimes a studio apartment. So
must be playing
if an ant walks outside, studios you'll hear.
This is the fine lines. When you give an athlete a 7-year ban, that's it for them. It's a life sentence, isn't it? Yeah. So why are they talking about you can come back in 2026 at 35 years old as a coach? I'm sorry for the joke.
Not going to happen.
Bad for Grenada.